Well, this is pretty interesting, and I have to say, somebody sounds like a bitter Betty. Well, let's take a couple minutes to talk about Thor, Ragnarok, and Love and Thunder director Taika Waititi, and what he had to say about diving into the MCU and taking on Thor as a character. Like I said, somebody sounds like a bitter Betty. Now, before we do that, though, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC videos, and we want to be your place for all the superhero news, but we're going to bring it to you truthfully and transparently, so you're really in the know. Well, Thor Ragnarok to this day remains one of Marvel's best reviewed movies, and honestly, it is still one heck of a good time. It completely rejuvenated the Thor franchise, which had struggled compared to his counterparts in Iron Man and Captain America and was a massive box office hit. Now, for some people, the shift to a more humorous style didn't resonate that well. The first two Thor movies were pretty much a fantasy tale, and when Taika Waititi jumped in and threw in all the Kirby colors and did something completely different, well, some people were a little concerned, but overall it did land pretty well. Now, that style of humor completely flopped in Love and Thunder, and there are a lot of people that really didn't like that movie. This has led to a couple of interesting comments from director Taika Waititi, and recently he jumped on the Smartless podcast and talked a little bit about helming Thor Ragnarok, and I have to say, boy has his tone changed since Love and Thunder came out and it was ill-received. He said, "You know what? I had no interest in doing one of those films. It wasn't on my plan for my career as an auteur, but I was poor and I just had a second child, and I thought, you know what, this would be a great opportunity to feed these children." And Thor, let's face it was probably the least popular franchise. I never read Thor comics as a kid. That was a comic I'd pick up and be like, ugh. And then I did some research on it and I read one Thor comic or 18 pages, or however long they are. Now, most of these comments really caught me off guard, and to me, it totally feels like a guy that is pretty unhappy with where he is right now with the franchise overall. Now, the fact that he did all of his character research based on one comic, well, that was pretty apparent in the movie. I don't know if this is a poor response to the criticism of the last film or maturity issue, but it definitely reminds me of some other directors when challenged go kind of into toddler mode and don't like to be criticized at all. First thing that comes to mind is when somebody asked Bryan Singer about the color of the cape in Superman Returns. It was clearly maroon, and he stood on stage at Comic-Con and argued with the fans. Now, to be fair, there's a good chance he's probably exaggerating. It definitely seems like he's a little disenchanted with the whole thing after the reception of Love and Thunder. So he may very well have done more research than 18 pages of comics, but this is the kind of stuff, to me, that seems to indicate, well, he's not coming back and he's not planning on coming back. I also think you have to give credit where credit's due, because the writers Eric Pearson, Craig Kyle, and Christopher Yost, well, we know they're all comic book people, so I don't think that was lost on the film, but it is so weird to have a director that seems to have a disdain for the comics. Now, according to Waititi, he will not be returning for Thor 5, and we've been hearing that that film is actually currently in development over at Marvel Studios. Additionally, Chris Hemsworth has said for him to come back, he would like to see Thor taken in a new direction. I don't think him and Waititi have a bad relationship, but I think Hemsworth does recognize the fan response, and like any actor, he wants to do good movies and ones that connect with fans and the fans like, and I think he recognizes a couple of bad entries into a franchise will pretty much destroy it, and he doesn't want to give Thor another film that fans simply don't like. As for Waititi, it's hard to tell where he goes next. He is apparently going to make a Star Wars movie, but his attitude there also seems a little weird because he's already said it's going to piss people off. I'm not sure what he's trying to accomplish with some of these interviews, or if the guy is even doing okay, but overall, he doesn't sound like a happy person, and I don't think this is the kind of public PR that builds good relationship with management with whoever you're working for. What is next high-profile movie, and if it's with Disney or Marvel, well, we're gonna have to wait and see.